So you want to stop shopping at the grocery store. You want to be more self-sufficient. So do we. But it's not easy to do nowadays.
We don't live in pioneer times anymore. There's no Homestead Act, which gets us free land. We have insurance to pay for, taxes. Most of us drive cars, not cattle. A lot of people wonder, can you really be self-sufficient? In fact, we just got an email from Dale. He asked us how much we buy at the grocery store still ourselves after over a decade of homesteading. He had the goal to be grocery store free in just 2 years, and he wanted to know if that was a reasonable goal or not.
So how self-sufficient is it reasonable for a person to be?
We actually have an exact number we've come up with based off of not just our experience, but hundreds of other homesteads that we involved in this video. Also, we have 3 big lessons or takeaways that we're gonna share with you in this video. Stay tuned for all 3 because they're gonna help you grow more food. And if you, like Dale, want a question answered, don't forget to put the hashtag #AskHomesteady with a comment in any of our videos, and maybe we'll choose your question to be in the next video.
Because of Dale's email, we're gonna focus on human food production in this video. So we're not talking about heating for your home or your vehicle. Disclaimers.
Okay.
We're not gonna make our own gasoline. Calm down. When we're talking about being self-sufficient, what we're referring to is needing no outside help in the production of your basic needs, your food production mainly.
Out in the wilds of Pennsylvania lives a family living off the land. They start before the break of dawn milking their cows. They butcher chickens, smoke pork bellies. If it wasn't walking around in their backyard, you won't find it in their fridge. They are the 110% self-sufficient, won't eat it if we don't grow it homestead. Hey, wait, is that what? What the?
So we could edit it to look like we grow all of our own food here in this homestead.
But we don't. It's like, the simple truth is we're still going to the grocery store for some things.
Yeah, we still actually buy a lot of things, but we do grow a ton of our own food. It didn't happen overnight though. It really started about 13 years ago when we were dating.
You know we've been married for longer than 13 years,
Whoops.
right?
15 years ago when we were dating?
15 years ago.
All right, who talks about
Nailed it.
I was a super romantic guy, so I always took my girlfriend fishing with me.
It wasn't my favorite.
And we would catch some fish and we would cook it on the riverside. And that was like our very little beginning step.
Our toes were dipped into the world of self-sufficiency.
At that point though, we were like 0.5% self-sufficient. We literally only were getting like 1 meal out of 3 meals a day, 30 days a month.
Yeah, so 1 meal a month would we fish, catch the fish and eat it.
But when we got married, things changed.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Being married with a cow. We were married a year and then we got pregnant. So right away we kind of switched from the Taco Bell lifestyle we were leading that first year into wanting something better for our little boy. I started a garden in our little yard. We just had a little piece of the backyard. We were in a 3rd floor apartment and we had a segment of yard we were allowed to grow a garden in. And Austin started hunting.
We wanted to have good quality meat, but we couldn't afford to buy it and we had nowhere to grow it. So I learned how to hunt. At first I was super unsuccessful. Basically, I got nothing my first year of hunting. But my second season, I was successful, and pretty much from there forward, I've always been able to get some venison in the freezer. That got us enough protein for at least 2 or 3 meals a week. And with Kay gardening a little bit and me being able to get some deer, we were actually able to eat a full meal all on our own.
Yeah, that first meal was such an accomplishment. I mean, we took a picture of it, and that was not in the days of Instagram. That was not in the Instagram days. It was just, we were so proud of this meal that we had grown with our own 2 hands and harvested. And a little scared.
We had...
Of the meat.
Oh, yeah. We definitely were afraid of the meat because it was like, can you just do this? Butcher it yourself and not poison your family? Yeah. But we never did. We're still here, so... it was venison burgers, homemade buns, lettuce and tomato grown in the garden. So that was pretty awesome. And that combination of meat and a little bit of garden veggies, it meant that we could literally do like 1 meal or 2 meals a week out of, 3 meals a day, 30 days a month. That would be about 7% of the meals that we eat throughout a month we were able to produce. And that was really about 2 years of our early homesteading life. The first 2 years we were doing about 7% of our own food.
This is pretty average for a homesteader just starting out the first few years.
How do we know? Because we asked. Over 1,000 homesteads answered our different questions, and we're gonna share all that data with you in this video.
We did a poll of 750 homesteads who've been homesteading for 2 years or less.
We asked each homestead to tell us how much of their total food they were growing, whether it was 25, 50, 75, or 100% of their food. Our first poll of new homesteaders. While 2 out of 10 reported growing more than 25% of their food, the majority, 8 out of 10, said that they grew 25% or less of their food.
So the majority are saying they're producing 25% or less of their food. Not near 100%. Maybe that doesn't seem like a lot.
Tell that to the person who just did it.
Think about what that's saying. You're doing something completely different than you ever had in your entire life, different than probably most of the people around you are doing. And you're already producing up to 25% of your food. It's a huge accomplishment. It's not 100% though. That's our first takeaway, is don't get overwhelmed by how little it feels like you're doing. The key is to just start. If you're getting an egg a day from your chickens and that's giving you protein for your breakfast, that's fantastic. Sometimes we feel like we're back in high school and boy, 25%, that's a failing grade. When you're growing your own food, 25% is a huge success. So don't not get started because you're feeling overwhelmed by not being able to do it all. Key is just start.
We were limited, being in an apartment, how much food we could actually grow for ourselves. If we were gonna increase that amount, it was time for us to move to the country, and so that's what we did. Every morning, this is my pig
Your
feeding.
cardio.
Yeah. Pig aerobics for the win. So we moved to a 10-acre farm in the country, and pretty quickly we wound up with our first livestock, which of course was chickens, egg-laying chickens. And we got 6 egg layers. Up and running, getting farm fresh eggs. Ooh, I just dropped one. So with farm fresh eggs, we were able to produce enough food for like all of our breakfasts. We could have an omelet with some veggies in it, fried eggs, poached eggs. Every single breakfast is a big percentage of the meals. It's 1 in every 3 meals. That combined with the meat and the veggies we were already producing, now we're at a level of about 20% of our food being grown or harvested on our homestead. Having egg-laying chickens was an easy leaping point
What do they call that? Like opened the way. What do you call it? A stepping stone? Gateway. It was a gateway, a stepping stone into the world of meat chickens.
We knew how to take care of chickens. Let's get some meat chickens. We started with 10 the first year. We got 10 meat chickens, learned how to do it.
And we were hooked.
Yeah, they were awesome.
They were delicious, they were easy, and they filled our freezer so quickly.
Behind me here, I have 1 year's worth of chicken for our family. Do you want to grow a year's worth of chicken for your family? We're going to talk about how to do that in today's video.
And ever since then,
we never stopped.
We haven't stopped. Every year we raise enough meat chickens for our whole family. Plus. That really upped our self-sufficiency quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not difficult if you have a little bit of property, a little bit, to raise your year's supply of meat chickens. We have a whole video that outlines that. It's an awesome gateway into the world of meat.
I think it's good because you kind of dip your toe into death. Because meat birds will die on you. They die on us in all sorts of crazy ways.
Yeah.
Like if it's too hot or too cold, too wet, if there's not enough water, if the food's wrong, a predator grabs them. That's kind of good to get used to in farming too.
Failure, that's our second takeaway here is just give yourself room to fail. I like how John Siskovich from Farm Marketing Solutions, John says he's killed more chickens on accident than most people have on purpose.
But you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, with every failure, you're gonna learn how to do better. And to the point where here we are, having been raising meat chickens for a decade, last year we had a perfect batch of meat chickens. So I don't know if you were keeping track how many Cornish crosses died this year on our homestead. 0. We had a perfect year. All 118 Cornish cross birds are still alive. We filmed that entire video, we edited it. I'm out here doing the last chores for the evening, and of course, I think I jinxed myself, we had 1 chicken die. Okay, we lost 1.
Until the last
Right
day.
at the buzzer. I had to go and
Last day.
open my stupid mouth and jinx it. We eat chicken at least 2 meals a week. That would be an additional 5% of our meals of the month. So that's 25% self-sufficient at this point. We're a quarter of the way towards 100%.
And that was 4 years into our journey.
Yeah.
After we learned about meat chickens, meat kind of blew up for us on our homestead. We started doing pigs, sheep, goats, we've got beef now in the field. That really upped our percentage of self-sufficiency, and to the point where now we never have to buy meat from the grocery store. We are 100% self-sufficient as far as our meat goes at our farm.
Shortly after moving to Pennsylvania, we had another big step in our self-sufficiency journey. We built an on-farm butcher facility.
In addition to producing the meat, over time we worked on butchering our own meat, processing it, curing it, smoking it. Middle's reading 150, so that bad boy right there is ready. So now we do every step in the meat process. The first time we've ever made our own bacon, first taste. Oh man. Oh wow. Dang it, that is so good. Seems like a 4-letter word to say meat in front of the lambs. Sorry guys. 100% self-sufficient in pizza. Is that free range pizza?
This pizza lived a nice life.
Self-sufficient?
One bad day for this pizza.
So now every single plate on our dinner table, half or more of those plates is something that we grow here. And
That's such a funny way to say that.
well, it's the meat. We grow the meat on every plate we've produced here. So that brought us to a level of 50% of the food our family eats. Right on our homestead is where we grow it.
Grow our plates.
Grow our plates, we do or do not. It took us about 5 years to get to this point. To be totally, meat self-sufficient, 5 years.
There were years we would make jokes though. They were the years of lamb and chicken when that's all we had in our freezer and we were sick of
Just
it.
eat lamb and chicken every other day.
The pigs weren't
alternate.
big enough to butcher yet. Days of lamb and chicken. But that was 50% self-sufficient as
Whatever
far as
we
our
grew,
food goes.
we were eating. It took us about 5 years to be 50% self-sufficient. How's that stack up to a bunch of other homesteads? We asked our Homesteady audience.
Most of the new homesteads were growing less than 25% of their food. But as we approach the 5-year mark, production really increases. Now half of our homesteads are producing more than 25% of their food, and 2 out of every 10 are producing more than 50% of their food.
That's a huge increase in the amount of homesteaders who over time are producing more and more food.
Why? Why do you want everyone to see it?
It's what we do. The lengths we go to.
So our life kept changing. Austin got more work from home, website designing, marketing, a little bit of podcast and YouTube, and we could bring more dairy into our farm. We tried with goats, failed miserably. Then we tried a dairy cow, and that that opened a whole new world as far as what we could provide for ourselves when we got into dairy. We've been milking out about 2 gallons. It's a gallon in the morning, gallon in the evening, which isn't a lot, but it's about all my hands can take, so that's okay with me. That was our milk, our cream, our butter, yogurt. The hard cheese was kind of a miss for the first few years, but this year we finally started to get more of a handle on making hard cheeses, soft cheeses, ice creams, all sorts of yummy things, and really grew a big
That's a
chunk.
huge
Yeah,
chunk
a
of
lot of
self-sufficiency.
protein.
Yeah, even whole meals that we didn't need to use meat anymore. We could do, you know, a cheese
Right.
based
Yep, like
meal.
a fried cheese. So that brought us up from that 50% to 70% now.
That's 70% of all our food
Yeah, that's
we're
awesome.
producing here on our homestead.
That took 13 years to get to
Yeah.
this point, but we're here.
Wait, more than 30, remember? We've been married longer than 13 years.
Yeah, I don't count the first year. That was our Taco Bell year.
Yeah, okay.
13 and a half years.
So after a decade plus of homesteading, we're at about 70% of our food that we're producing here on this homestead. We asked all the homesteaders in our audience what percent of food they're producing after 10 years. Here our data showed another interesting trend. When you go from 5 years to 10 years of homesteading experience, you'll find now 6 out of every 10 homesteads are producing more than 25% of their food, with 3 or more out of every homestead producing more than half. So the third takeaway that we got from reviewing this data was that you really can't fast forward this process.
It's hard to skip ahead through all that learning and time. One, because it costs a lot of money to get into this all, and year by year you'll build up your infrastructure, your animal experience, and you just can't skip ahead in this way of education and learning.
So instead of letting this discourage you and think, I can never do this, it's gonna be too much work, let it encourage you to just start, because it is a long process. The sooner you start, the quicker you'll arrive at these much higher percentages of self-sufficiency. So now you want to know.
What do we buy from the store? If we're at 70%, that's like 30% still hanging out there.
Yeah, there's still some food that we're getting at the grocery store. Before we tell you what that is, if this has been helpful so far in your journey, figuring out how much food is realistic for you to grow, give us a thumbs up. It'll let us know that you like this kind of video filled with polls and data.
And graphs. Well, we're a family of 8, so we've got 6 kids, which means there's always going to be those kind of kid snacky things we buy because we can and we want to. There's coffee,
Oh yeah,
grains, rice, flours, things like that. And for us, a lot of fruit and veggies.
Oils, spices,
well,
right?
yeah, less oil than we used to because we use a lot of lard in our cooking.
Yeah.
Fruit, we did start a whole beautiful food forest at our
so
farm
sad.
back in Connecticut. We planted this orchard with the goal to have 6 months of fruit. So we did raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, apples, pears, goji berries, kiwi, all sorts of things. Hopefully the next people enjoy it. Which is probably producing a lot of fruit, but we moved and left it there. We did just plant strawberries here.
So that means surely we'll be moving soon.
Fruit and veggies, that's always been our, I think, Achilles heel on the homestead, and something we're eager to get much better at in the upcoming years. And when we did the survey about other homesteaders, this was, I think, the part I was most interested in. What are other people buying as well? It was like looking in their medicine cabinet.
Ooh,
They're
you're
buying...
one of those people.
I am not. No, but I'm looking in the refrigerator.
We had an awesome group of homesteads who shared in-depth information with us as far as what they are growing and what they have a hard time growing and are still buying. We're going to learn a lot more from them in an upcoming video, more on that in a second, but here's some of the things they said they are still buying even when producing more than 50% of their food. Snacks, exotic fruits, coffee, yes, oils, chocolate, because who couldn't? The point is, everybody still had to buy something, and in fact, even out of the 10% of homesteads that said they were growing more than 75% of their food, after a decade of experience, not one of them said they were growing 100%. Everybody was buying something.
And the things they said were really similar to ours.
You are so in my shadow.
Yes, I know.
There we go.
The things they said were really similar. It's hard to grow your own wheat and millet and to have enough space to grow it. That's one thing that a lot of us run into, is the issue of space, money.
Pretty much everybody who said they were growing veggies and fruit also still bought veggies and fruit.
Yeah, it's hard to grow as much as you need.
Not everybody, somebody did it, but
yeah, well, especially for a larger family, I think that's an enormous amount of food to be growing.
yeah.
Okay, that brings us to Dale's question from the beginning. Is it possible for them or anybody to be grocery store?
Trying to get comfortable on this ladder back
It's a metal ladder. Okay.
Just look natural.
Is it possible for them or anybody really to be free from the grocery store in 2 years?
Based off the results from almost 1,000 different homesteaders, it looks like it's pretty difficult to get to that level of self-sufficiency in 2 years' time.
Starting from zero. Now, maybe you've been homesteading for 40 years and then yes, sure. But if you're just starting out, to go from nothing to 100% producing all of your own food in 2 years, it will be difficult.
So here's the path that we suggest you follow over the next decade. First couple years, just start.
Just by starting, you're growing in knowledge and experience. That is laying the foundation for everything you're gonna do after that.
As you approach year 5, if you're producing more than 25% of your food, you'll be in the top half of homesteaders. So start shooting for that goal of more than 25% of your food by year 5. And then as you approach the wise old 10 years plus, like us elder millennials over here.
Yeah. And then by the time you're in your 10th year of homesteading, if you're providing yourself with 50% or more of your food, that's fantastic.
And if you want to learn how they're doing it, we had so many of them tell us their secrets. We're going to share those in the next video, which will show up right here when it's ready.
They gave such good tips that I'm definitely going to apply them in our new homestead, and I'm really excited to do that.